She's a funny old broad. She keeps you guessing.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's morning where I'm at. My name is Angela, middle initial K, last name Durden, and this is the Constrained View. Today is May 2nd. I hope to get this out today. If I don't, then just know that today is May 2nd and that yesterday was May 1st. And on May 1st, President Trump released another executive action that has got to have the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR and PBS kind of sort of, spinning in their own little universe. I'm going to read this executive order to you and then stop and make some commentary. I think it would be interesting for everyone. Ending taxpayer subsidization of biased media. Executive Orders, May 1, 2025. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered, Section 1, Purpose. National Public Radio, or NPR, and the Public Broadcasting Service, PBS, receive taxpayer funds through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, CPB. Unlike in 1967 when the CPP was established, today the media landscape is filled with abundant, diverse, and innovative news options. Government funding of news media in this environment is not only outdated and unnecessary, but corrosive to the appearance of journalistic independence. Now I'm going to stop there and make a few comments. My husband and I had just been married, and not even a year yet, when we happened upon a little station. Our TV was an antenna television, and it only got 3 channels, and then suddenly it got 4. And the 4th one was Ted Turner's, I forget what his call signs were, but everything started at 5 minutes past the hour or 5 minutes past the half hour. And it was a brilliant move on his part. And then we were able to get something on Channel 8. It was called PBS. And we looked at each other because it was showing this really old movie that was fabulous. There was all kinds of wonderful stuff going on that screen, and we sat there mesmerized because we had never seen anything like it. Yes, we were rubes. I guess you could call us that. But we had never seen anything like it. Not on TV. So at the end, they said, listen, if you would like to see more of this, donate to PBS, and here's how you do it. Well, we were stone cold broke, as most newlyweds are. But we loved what they were bringing to us, and we wrote us out a small little check, and we sent it to them. And that's all we could afford. We soon found out, though, that this was not what they normally did. This was that we watched this channel, we discovered this channel during a fundraising sweep. And as we all know, they don't show the same things on fundraising sweep weeks that they show the rest of the time. So we stopped donating, or I should say we never continued to donate. A lot of people were in that thing, and today, we see their sweeps weeks where they're trying to get fundraising. They're showing all these huge, wonderful, awesome concerts from 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Nothing lately. Well, we can see every single one of those on all kinds of other different channels. We might even have the DVDs of these concerts, and it's a better experience for us. So anyway, that's that. Okay. Because well, to get back to the thing, the media landscape today is filled with abundant, diverse, and innovative options, not just news options, though that's true, but all sorts of options. So why do we need PBS and NPR anymore? I don't know. Anyway, to continue with the executive order, at the very least, Americans have the right to expect that if their tax dollars fund public broadcasting at all, they fund only fair, accurate, unbiased, and nonpartisan news coverage. This next sentence is huge. No media outlet has a constitutional right to taxpayer subsidies, and the government is entitled to determine which categories of activities to subsidize. I'm going to read that again. No media outlet has a constitutional right to taxpayer subsidies. And this is true. This is so true. I'm very tired of, I used to love to listen to the NPR radio. It had some such wonderful, interesting things. And then it suddenly didn't. And it all got very, very negative and insulting to me, the listener. Same with PBS. Now, PBS does show a lot of things from the UK, Masterpiece Theatre, which I love. And I don't love everything Masterpiece Theatre puts out, but I do love it. And other stuff like that, shows. Let's see here. Now the CPB's governing statute, that's the Corporation for Public Broadcasting's governing statute, reflects principles of impartiality. It says the CPB may not contribute to or otherwise support any political party. Now, isn't that interesting? The Corporation for Public Broadcasting has it in their own governing statute. I'm going to try to post a link to this under the show notes or in the information bar underneath the video, and hopefully you can see it for yourself. But it's 47 USC, that's U.S.C. space 396, and then in parentheses is F, and then in parentheses is 3. Then it says see also ID.396, in parentheses is an E, in parentheses is a 2. But I'm going to post the link to that and you can see it all for yourself. Now, the next paragraph says the CPB, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, fails to abide by these principles to the extent it subsidizes NPR and PBS. Which viewpoints NPR and PBS promote does not matter. What does matter is that neither entity presents a fair, accurate, or unbiased portrayal of current events to taxpaying citizens. They're taking our money and lying to us. Big spin. Lots of big spin. Therefore, he instructs the CPB Board of Directors and all executive departments and agencies to cease federal funding of NPR and PBS. Now, I find this interesting because it says he instructs the CPB Board of Directors, which is a given because that's what who he's talking to. But then it says in all executive departments and agencies. I'm assuming when he says all executive departments is all the departments that come under his direct executive power. And we know that that is a lot. So this is going to be very interesting when the executive agencies start looking at their where their money's going to. I wonder how many of those executive agencies are donating to NPR or PBS. And by donating, I mean funneling taxpayer information, taxpayer monies to these organizations. You know, I don't know, but I would not put it past any of them to have buried this sort of money funneling into some tunnel off of another tunnel off of another tunnel of money flow. But you know, the Doge AI algorithms that they're using to fast search through these sorts of things, I bet you they're going to find it pretty quick. Okay, section 2. Instructions to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. A. Excuse me. The CPB board shall cease direct funding to NPR and PBS, consistent with my administration's policy to ensure that federal funding does not support biased and partisan news coverage. The CPB shall cancel existing direct funding to the maximum extent allowed by law and shall decline to provide future funding. Stop it for now and stop it in the future. No more. B. The CPB board shall cease indirect funding to NPR and PBS, including by ensuring that licensees and permittees of public radio and television stations, as well as any other recipient of CPB funds, do not use federal funds for NPR and PBS. To effectuate this directive, the CPB board shall, before June 30th, 2025, revise the 2025 Television Community Service Grants General Provisions and Eligibility Criteria and the 2025 Radio Community Service Grants General Provisions and Eligibility Criteria to prohibit direct or indirect funding of NPR and PBS. To the extent permitted by the 2024 Television Community Service Grants General Provisions and Eligibility Criteria, the 2024 Radio Community Service Grants General Provisions and Eligibility Criteria, and applicable law, the CPB board shall also prohibit parties subject to these provisions from funding NPR or PBS after the date of this order. So after May 1, 2025, stop. In addition, the CPB board shall take all other necessary steps to minimize or eliminate its indirect funding of NPR and PBS. Section 3. Instructions to other agencies. The heads of all agencies shall identify and terminate, to the maximum extent consistent with applicable law, any direct or indirect funding of NPR and PBS. Now, the phrase shall identify and terminate to the maximum extent consistent with applicable law. You know, it could very well be that there's certain contracts, and this is just me making a guess. I'm not an attorney, but I'm just making an assumption that applicable law could be contract law, that they need to let certain contracts run out to what has already been paid for. B, after taking the actions, excuse me, I am, this pollen is still aggravating me. So blame it on the pollen. After taking the actions specified in subsection A of this section, the heads of all agencies shall identify any remaining grants, contracts, or other funding instruments entered into, so I kind of sort of was right, wasn't I? With NPR or PBS, and shall determine whether NPR and PBS are in compliance with the terms of those instruments. One moment, I am going to pause this for a moment. 30 seconds, and it's still not fixed. Okay. Now I have a screen share I want to do. Let's see if we can do this. Show on stage. There we go. So I asked myself the question, taxpayer funds will no longer go to PBS, but can other people continue to donate privately? It's their money, they can do it. So who are some of these people? Let me show you the screen here. So the mission, this is the PBS Foundation. This is the one that takes in the money and then disperses it. The mission of the PBS Foundation, and this you can see right here. I'm going to include the links to all these different pages so that you can see them yourself. The mission of the PBS Foundation is to be a leader for philanthropic support of PBS, ensuring that PBS continues to be an excellent provider of outstanding programs and services. Acting collaboratively and cooperatively with PBS member stations, the Foundation works to secure the extraordinary funding necessary to maintain and enhance PBS's commitment to serving the American public. The Foundation works to secure the extraordinary funding necessary to maintain and enhance. Interesting, interesting. Well, that's their mission. Let's see, our commitment to stories by aiming to unite. Let's see, let's go to my podcast links. Did we just, our values, here we go, our values. Oh, that's where our mission was. Let's see, what other link do we have? Ways to give, our donors. Now, it says, keeping PBS strong, thank you to our donors. Let's see, people who believe public broadcasting has always been possible because of people like you. Well, actually, when they say people like me, are they talking about people who privately make donations to them, or are they talking about taxpayer money? I don't see anywhere in here that they mention taxpayer money. So maybe it's they're speaking just to those who are making private donations. People who believe media, including, of course, television, should serve not just the interests of private companies, but the public interest. People who believe the best programming not only entertains, but educates and inspires. Well, all that sounds really good. And that's what I thought it was all about back when my husband and I first got married. That's what we both thought it was, is that which entertains, educates, and inspires. And then it changed. So I wonder if their private donations have dropped off. I don't know. Their latest says, please join us in celebrating our donors. See our fall 2023 contributor newsletter, pages 8 through 10, for a list of those who gave gifts totaling $10,000 or more last year. This publication is unavailable, as you can see. Let's go to another link. Let's see, our donors, individuals. Yeah, that was just linked to what we just did. Now let's go to podcast links. Foundations and corporations. I don't think this is all of them. In fact, I know it's not all of them. Because have you seen the list that shows after a lot of these things, it goes so fast you can't even read them. But there's a lot of family trusts, individual Anne Ray Foundation, Arthur Vining Davis Foundations. So I wonder how many of those there are and which ones are they. Bank of America, Endless Network, Ford Foundation, go on and go on. I'm going to include this link. You can read it. But these people are all contributing, and these organizations are all contributing to PBS, and the PBS Foundation sincerely thanks them. I'm sure it's for NPR. They get some of the NPR dollars. NPR gets some of the dollars too. Now, I would have to do a huge amount of study on the subject, but I am going to give a generalized statement here about this particular list and the complete list that is not mentioned here. I bet you anything these people and these organizations and these foundations and these businesses may have a huge stake in the New World Order types, the World Economic Forum types, who are trying to push the NWO, the New World Order mindset, which could explain why PBS likes their money. Let's see, let's look at another one of the links. That was the foundations and corporations. And there's different ways. Where did I put that? There's different ways to give. Let's see. Ways to give. Ways to give. Want to send now. Giving for the future. Giving for the workplace. I think there was a. Here we go. Ways to give. Beneficiary. Let me see if I printed that out. I did. I can read it here, but you can see it. I'm going to send all this to you. There's beneficiary designations, so you know it's what's left in your will to them. There's foundations and corporations that we just saw a list of, but you can get on that list. Gifts to the PBS Endowment Fund, making life insurance, making PBS, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, whoever, a beneficiary to your life insurance. And then there's matching and workplace gifts. Now that to me is interesting. Matching and workplace gifts. Do they have fundraising drives at large corporations? And if you don't give, you know, you're persona non grata? I don't know. You can gift stocks. You can do IRA as gifts, wills and trusts. They may have some templates there. I don't know. Let's click on that and see. Here you can fill all this out so that they can know more about you. And would you like someone to follow up with you? Would you like to receive a complimentary estate planning guide? Interesting. Interesting. Let's see here now. There's wire transfers even. Anyway, you can look at all this yourself. I have done that. I've done that. I've done that. And I've done that. Okay, let's go back to the studio. Let's go back to this. So I would like to know how much of taxpayer funds goes into supporting them, and is it all the other donors that are making up the what I would call the gravy, where they can do more things that they want to do, but that the base is paid, the bills, the lights are kept on, so to speak, by taxpayer money. I'd like to know that. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, this is part C, the Secretary of Health and Human Services shall determine whether the Public Broadcasting Service and National Public Radio, I love this next little bit. It's in parentheses. It says, it shall determine whether the Public Broadcasting Service and National Public Radio or any successor organization. They're trying to be sneaky and set up something else. Can't do it. are complying with the statutory mandate that no person shall be subjected to discrimination in employment on the grounds of race, color, religion, national origin, or sex. If they don't comply, then the Secretary of Health and Human Services, HHS, will do their deed and proceed to hold them accountable. Well, y'all, that is the end of the May 1st, 2025 executive order on the defunding of PBS and NPR. Now, remember, what was it, The Atlantic? It was Politico, possibly The Atlantic, but Politico that was receiving a huge amount of money from the government for, I'm going to use my air quotes here, subscriptions. And they're not getting that money anymore either, are they? This is awesome. I don't like my money stolen out of my pocket. I don't care who does it. And I don't care on what basis they do it. Theft is theft. If you want my money, you better tell me what you're going to use it for. Otherwise, this is not a voluntary thing, is it? Because I believe in paying my way. Property taxes, sure. I don't believe that somebody should lose their home if they can't pay it. There's got to be ways around handling that. But then again, property taxes do make for the infrastructure upon which my property can sit. So if I don't want to pay property taxes, then I shouldn't have to connect to those services, and those services shouldn't be available to me unless I'm willing to pay for them on an as-needed basis. The property taxes pays for the schools, police, fire, emergency type things, building the infrastructure to keep our water running. Now, if I want to provide my own water on my own property, shouldn't I be able to do that? Can't I drill a drill if there's water below my property? And yet, even those things are being connected. But still, I don't mind paying property taxes to the degree that it is making my life easier and enables me to be able to have more free time to do the things that I find are even more important. How the water gets to me without me having to do a ton of work, like having it delivered every day, or drilling a drill and fixing the motor when it breaks, or oops, that well went dry, darn, what am I going to do? Then I'm liking that. But when you take that money and you say you're going to use it for one thing and then you use it for something else, well, that is what PBS and NPR have been doing. They have been doing nothing but pointing their fingers self-righteously and calling us all idiots, deplorables, whatever you want to call it. And that's not right. That's just not right. Okay, well, everybody, this has been fun. I'm going to try and get this out today. I don't see why I shouldn't be able to, but you never know. If you look at the Chiron, that's the little banner that's going across the bottom, there's my email address. You can email me any thoughts directly, no matter where you're watching this, which is Rumble, YouTube, and Substack. We'll go out on Substack first, of course. And then we'll move it out into the... See? I'm part. Little old me. I'm part of the new media environment. Now, would PBS have sat there and read to you this executive order? I don't think so. So, here we go.